Section 21, Land Elements and Title. Arizona Market Introduction, from property management details to property rights. In Section 19, we focused on property management details, rent, deposits, trust accounts, records, notices, and repairs. Now we move into the land itself. Before an agent can help a client buy, sell, lease, or manage real estate, the agent must understand what rights are connected to the property. Land is more than dirt. It can include mineral rights, air rights, fixtures, easements, title interests, ownership choices, liens, and legal descriptions. These issues may not come up in every transaction, but when they do, they can become very important very quickly. The story, the fence, the shed, and the surprise easement. Imagine a buyer walks a property and says, "This backyard is perfect. I'm going to build a pool right where that old shed sits." Then the title report arrives. It shows a utility easement across the backyard. Suddenly, the buyer's dream pool location may not work. This is why agents must understand land elements and title. The agent does not need to give legal advice, but the agent should know when to slow down and say, "Let's review the title report, easements, and restrictions with the title company or legal counsel." Real property, personal property, and fixtures. Real property is land and anything permanently attached to it. Personal property is movable property that is not attached to real estate. A fixture begins as personal property, but becomes real property when attached to the property. A chandelier in a box is personal property. Once installed, it may become a fixture. Best practice: if there is any question about whether something stays or goes, put it clearly in writing. Mineral rights and air rights. Mineral rights are rights connected to resources above and below the land, and are usually conveyed with real property unless reserved or separated. Air rights involve the right to use airspace above property. Air rights are often transferred by easement because air itself is not treated the same as real property. Example, a downtown development may involve air rights if one property owner needs rights of another parcel for construction or access. Legal descriptions matter. A legal description is required to legally convey an interest in real property. The deed must clearly identify the land being conveyed. This is why agents should not rely only on street addresses. A street address helps people find the property, but the legal description identifies what is actually being transferred. Encumbrances and easements. An encumbrance is a claim or right attached to property that may affect value or use. Examples include liens, easements, deed restrictions, judgments, or unpaid assessments. An easement is the right to use another person's land for a specific purpose. It is an interest in land, but it is not ownership of the land. Easements are usually written and may appear in the title report. Best practice: when an easement appears, do not guess what it means. Encourage the client to review it with title, legal counsel, or the appropriate professional. Title and chain of title. A deed must be properly recorded in the chain of title. Recording creates public notice and helps establish the history of ownership. When property records, title transfers from one owner to another. But if there are defects, liens, or unresolved claims, the buyer may not receive the clean ownership they expected. Property ownership choices. Before closing, buyers must decide how they will take title. Real estate professionals can explain common ownership forms, but they should not advise clients which form to choose because that decision can affect taxes, inheritance, liability, estate planning, and transfer rights. Best practice: recommend legal or tax advice when buyers are unsure how to take title. Death, probate, and intestate succession. When an owner dies with a will, the estate may go through probate to determine the validity of the will and transfer property. When an owner dies without a will, they are considered intestate. Property may then pass, according to Arizona descent laws, through intestate succession. Agents should be careful with inherited property. Before listing or selling, confirm who has legal authority to sign. Title insurance and bankruptcy. Title insurance helps protect parties from certain title problems. An owner's title policy generally protects the buyer's ownership interest. A lender's title policy protects the lender's interest in a loan. Bankruptcy can also affect a transaction. Bankruptcy does not automatically destroy liens against a debtor's property, and it may affect agency, listings, contracts, leases, or defaults. Best practice: if bankruptcy appears in a transaction, recommend legal guidance immediately. Closing thought. Land elements and title issues remind us that real estate is not just about price and closing dates. It is about rights, restrictions, ownership, and legal authority. If Section 19 showed us how details matter in property management, Section 21 shows us that details also matter in land, title, ownership, and transfer. Online discussion question 1. Why should agents avoid advising buyers on how to take title? Answer: Because ownership choices can affect taxes, inheritance, liability, estate planning, and transfer rights. Agents should recommend legal or tax advice. Question 2. Why is a legal description more important than a street address for conveyance? Answer. Because the legal description identifies the actual real property interest being transferred. Question 3. Why should an agent be careful when an easement appears on a title report? Answer. Because an easement can affect how the property may be used, and the client should review it with title or legal counsel.